Welcome back to the best division in football with the two best teams in the NFC East. Y'all know what it is, man. Awthentik and The Beard, man. We back at it. Feeling extremely great about this week. Victory week for my New York Giants. Shout out to The Beard. Victory week for them Washington Commanders. It's a good, nice vibe over here in D.C., man. People walking around pleasant, walking their dogs, picking up their dog poo out my front yard and all that stuff. Everybody being very kind this week. Glad to see both of our teams win, man. The Giants get the win over the Titans. Commanders over the Jags late in that game. They find a way to get it together. The Eagles ended up taking care of the Detroit Lions in a close game, but really wasn't that close, but the scoreboard was definitely closer than the game looked. And the Cowboys, man, sitting at the bottom of the division in what I like to call struggle mode, man. They definitely in struggle mode right now, as if they didn't have enough problems with that roster already entering week one. Now you got that major injury to Dak Prescott, man. The NFC East is shaping up to be extremely, extremely wide open for any team that wants it. Definitely for the taking. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in one half of the best television show not on TV. My brother from another, The Beard one time, is in the building. How you living, fam?
I'm living good. I mean, we got a W. We want to know. we might as well be, winning the Super Bowl at this point.
I mean, we might get back to that kind of talk in DC. I remember when that was a thing for y'all, like every year. Yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl, and it kind of died down a little bit.
Yeah, so it's great to be back. I'm super excited. It was quite possibly one of the most memorable opening weeks in NFL, recent history.
Let's go NFC East history. Right?
It was a memorable week. I mean, we had the tie with the Colts and the Texans. We had the Steelers-Bengals game. I mean,
could have been
the
two
announcer.
ties.
Could have been two ties. The announcer on the Steelers-Bengals game, it said, "What is going on here?" Like, I was dying when I heard that. So, I mean, we had that game. Then you had, Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears with an insane upset over what a lot of people thought was a top 5, top 10 team in the NFC in the San Francisco 49ers. And then you had, obviously Monday Night Football debacle on the part of the Denver Broncos. I mean, all in all, it was a really, we had some major injuries. One we'll talk about a little bit later. I mean, J.J. Watt, Najee Harris,
Good
Elijah
to hear
Mitchell.
that J.J. Watt is not going to be out for a long time. They said that he did tear the muscle, but like the tendon was intact or something like that. So he's looking at 6 to 8 weeks, they said.
Yeah, so that is a lifesaver, because that first game, he looked like the best defensive player in the National Football League.
Yeah, man. He had that remnants of the interception he had on Daniel Jones in 2020, I believe that was, where he just jumped up at the line. He's really good at making those plays. I think he's one of the best players in the league. I don't know where he fell on the top 100 list, but he should be a top 10 kind of guy, man. He's everywhere.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, because I don't know off the top of my head, but he's definitely up there for sure. So it was just a wild first weekend. I mean, to me, one of the biggest things was the way that the stadium looked at FedEx Field. It's been a long time since that has looked that way. It's been a long time since we've had this feeling of a quarterback, basically RG3. I mean, let's be realistic here, So it's been an interesting week, but obviously, fans are going to be fans, and fans, we say Wentz is fans fan. So, there's
fans
obviously
fan. I like that.
there's obviously a lot of crazy narratives about everybody's team early on in week one. And I mean, week one is probably one of the biggest reactions on a Monday as possible, or Tuesday as possible. So it's just, I want to enjoy this moment, because you never know. I mean, look at, some of these teams and their injuries, it could end really, really fast. So I'm definitely enjoying the moment. Hopefully everybody in the chat is enjoying the moment, whether your team is, the Washington football team, the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, or the Houston Texans, which almost gave that victory that I predicted on the parlay. Don't forget, we are live every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the parlay. And big shout out to Awthentik, Big shout out to the graphics department. Big shout out to the Giants community for the turnout on Monday's Giant
fantastic.
overreaction.
Yeah, we just got that video to 1,000, man. I can't thank y'all enough for showing up and showing out. We had over 100 people in there during the live. It was just a great vibe. I called it a slow burner, man. It's just a real chill vibe. And, opening day for the New York Giants like this, man, to get the win. I know the fans feel good. Granted, I was on Twitter arguing with some people who, seem to be still a little miserable and a little bit upset, that we maybe not that we got the win, but maybe that our quarterback looked pretty decent in that win. And, I just think you got to give a kid a pass. First game of the year, man. He did his thing, and I think we showed up and showed out. We got the victory, showed up in the second half. Them second half adjustments by the coaching staff, incredible, man. So, again, thank you to everybody who pulled up to that stream, man. That stream was definitely one of the legendary vibes. Great way to start the season. So, the Giants start the season off real great, and the Giant overreaction starts off real great. So, big salute to the Giants Nation, man. Y'all in the building. Y'all know what it is.
Yeah, big shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll go ahead and say a couple of quick hellos before we get right into the swing of things.
Let's get it.
Big shout out to the Coach Taylor in the building first. Great to see you, J-Mo.
What up, big
Kai,
dog? What up?
Had a tough weekend as a Cowboys fan, Kai, but we appreciate you coming by as always. Big shout out to El Jefe in the building.
Hey, listen, one time when we leave this stream and we're done, I'm going to make sure we get done in time for this one, too. We're not going to hang too far over on the hours on this one. Make sure y'all go check out New York Revival, El Jefe, Eli Rax, Spiros. They're going to be over there doing a live stream with Lawrence Tynes, Super Bowl game-winning kicker. I believe this is their second interview with Lawrence Tynes. I think they had him there last year, too, so that should be a really good vibe, man. And shout out to Lawrence Tynes, man. He retweeted that tweet that I had today about Daniel Jones on the interception play and about how we shouldn't really be ragging on Daniel Jones and dissecting an interception the day after a big victory like that. So make sure y'all go pull up on them, man. Let's go raid that chat, show up strong, man, and show what's up and show some love for the Giants community.
Big shout out to Lucas checking in all the way from Australia. We appreciate it as always. Shout out to my wife in the building. Says one in the books for Washington.
Facts.
Big shout out to Perry Mack in the building. Big shout out to Max Webster. He was the winner of our first giveaway of the season. Make sure you guys are subscribed. You have that notification bell clicked and you're hitting that thumbs up because we're going to be giving away a ton of stuff. I just got in 2 new cards that are going to be giveaways hopefully this Thursday night. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that.
I'm going to pop up in the chat and just be faking and answering questions trying to win me some Giants cards. Y'all know what it is.
Dominic Palmer's in the building. Simon's in the building.
Simon, what
Edward
up, fam?
Squires is in the building. Mr. Mini Guy with his yo. My man Cernock says a tie is a tie. Can't really celebrate here.
Shout out Cernock, man.
Big shout out to the homie SSK Promo in the building. Sebastian is in the building. Big shout out to Nick the Wick for the $1.99 super chat. Says what a wonderful weekend of football. 1-0.
Yes, sir. Big dog vibes over here in New York. Let's go.
I see a lot of people typing in that 1-0. I saw half of the league is 1-0, baby. The other half is 0. Well, I guess not half because we had the tie. They just messed up everything.
Facts.
And yes, big shout out to the homie Jimmy for the old school flips hat. I don't know if he's in the chat, but I had to show my man some love right there for sure.
Yeah, Joe Fresh.
Big shout out to the homie Paulie is in the building. If y'all don't know Paulie is the man, okay?
Yeah, Paulie is the dude.
He is a guy I love to hear when he calls into the radio here in D.C. He pops up on a bunch of the local streams here. Shout out First String Podcast. He was on the other day with Corey from On the Warpath. So a big shout out to Paulie. Paulie, man, holla at some more Washington fans. Tell them come through, man. We need some more respect in the building here.
Tell Paulie we good, man. We got enough Giants blue over here. We good, Paulie.
Oh, man. I see no Mets, no Nets, no Jets in the building. I see a ton of people in the building. JJ Stengel.
What
Marjorie is in the building.
Oh, good to see you,
Marjorie. Caitlin Dragon 56 is in the building. Shout out to everybody here. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. We appreciate y'all rocking with Awthentik and The Beard here on Tuesday night. It's time to go. It's time to go, Beard. It's time to go, man. You ready for this show? This is a good one, man. It's our first recap where both of our teams got a win opening day in the history of Awthentik and The Beard. So shout out to the squads for definitely delivering them W's, getting us in that win column, man. Facts on facts on facts. It was
Right.
it was a little dicey there. It was a little dicey there.
Both games, it was extremely dicey. It was extremely
Just
dicey.
want to throw that out there really fast.
Man,
I
I
forgot
laid
to
this
mention that.
couch that's back here in the studio, man. I got one pillow on there right now. I laid on that joint like I was in the therapy chair with a therapist, and I was just like, please miss this field goal. Please miss this field goal. And, you know, God gave me those wishes, man, and the Giants get that victory week one. But we're going to start this one off on the right step. We're going to start this one off with your squad with the new name, new quarterback, and a new first week outcome. You know, getting them W's, man. It's looking real good for y'all right now. I always tell you, bro, like, I root for y'all to win as long as y'all not playing us. You know, I know in DC it feels good to get a win week one, and people here can be like a bit of a Debbie Downer, for lack of a better, you know, term. And people just kind of like, Cleveland Indians vibes, Major League 2 vibes, like they'll blow it this week, or, you know, them kind of vibes. And y'all really came through and pulled that one together. So let's get off into this first game one time. The Commanders took on them Jacksonville Jaguars at home this past Sunday, man. This was a thrilling game, man. And I've been saying this about Washington games for like the past couple of weeks, dating all the way back to last season, halfway through the year. Y'all games always got me on the edge of my seat. It's always a pretty close game, and it comes down to which team is going to make more mistakes. And usually the Commanders, formerly known as the Washington football team, would come out, I'd say 10 times out of 17 times with the L. Week one here, starting off the year on the right note. Washington goes out here. They get the win against the Jaguars, who a lot of people are kind of high on the Jaguars. Jaguars spent a ton of money in free agency in the offseason. They brought in some players, man. They got some people back healthy. New coach in Doug Peterson, who I feel like they didn't show him a lot on the broadcast for real. Didn't bring a lot of attention to him. But what did you see in this game, man? I got my thoughts. I want to see where you stand as far as, you know, what your Commanders did in this game, and give me the breakdown if the roadmap was successful.
There was some success in the roadmap. You know, we didn't run the ball 40 times, but it was still, listen, I mean, first of all, out the gate, I can't remember the last time Washington started off a game fast. And, yep. I mean, the play calling of Scott Turner on specifically for me, those first two possessions were absolutely phenomenal. He had guys in motion. He was running the ball. He was passing the ball. Curtis Samuel got involved early and often. Yep. I mean, you saw Antonio Gibson doing all the things that he was supposed to do. But I will tell you, it was shaky defensively out the gate. You know, the Jaguars pretty much marched down the field. James Robinson totally looks healthy. It's
Facts.
Good. That's going to be a scary tandem of James Robinson and Travis Etienne. And then big shout out to Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk got that bag, and everybody was giving him, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not his fault he got paid. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he came out. He looked good. He made some big plays in this game for sure. I'm pretty sure he led the Jacksonville Jaguars in receiving. Listen, I talked about first down and second down, you know, how big they were as third down is a big thing because you don't want those long third downs.
Right.
And the Washington football team was up there with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Chargers. They passed the ball 64% of the time. They passed the ball on first and second down. So they were trying really hard to make sure they were getting those yards to make those third downs a lot easier to convert by trying to get some big plays on first and second down. I thought that was a really, really interesting number. And then talking about third downs, I always talk about third downs until we have more data. The third downs was a big part of the roadmap. And I will say that the Washington Commanders converted 7 of 10 third downs. 7 of 10 third downs. That is huge.
Great percentage.
What's even more important, they held Jacksonville on third downs 3 of 12. 3 of 12.
You can't ask for more on third down on both sides of the ball from your team. Those are great statistics.
And then the offensive line held up. Carson Wentz was only sacked 1 time, but we only got 2 sacks. The defense is definitely something that we're going to have to talk about a little bit today. The turnovers, 3 turnovers. So the fact, listen, there is a great chance that Washington gets blown out in this game. We turned the ball over 3 times, you know, and then you had Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence missed a couple of surefire touchdowns. Etienne had to drop.
Especially early on in this game.
Yeah, so
Etienne had the big drop.
There was a lot of points in this game that could have easily completely swung the gate open in the other direction. So those are a few things that definitely stood out to me in this game. Big shout out to Carson Wentz. As you guys can see, 4 touchdowns. This is the first time Carson Wentz has thrown 4 touchdowns since 2017, right before he tore his ACL. So I think we talked about this previously in the beginning of the season on Awthentik and The Beard about how this might possibly be the best weapons that Carson Wentz has ever had at his disposal. So, it's really interesting. He did throw those 2 interceptions. The first one, he was staring that wide receiver down. He was late on the comeback route. It was an interception.
That was a bad one.
He took blame for that. The second one, I mean, if you want to be nitpicky, you could say, okay, you got to throw the ball on the ground at that screen. But let's just be perfectly honest. The first round draft pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars came out to play. He went back 2 hands to snag that screen. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure he had a fumble recovery or a forced fumble and a sack. He was like one of the first rookie players to do that defensively since TJ Watt. It's either TJ or JJ, one of the Watt boys.
But he caught it like a wide receiver, too, on that interception, man. He really showed, like, golden hands. I mean, he really caught that like a receiver away from his body. Great, just a fantastic athletic play from somebody, playing the edge like that. And I'm worried about them going forward. Not for them, but for teams that they got to play against, man, because that tandem on the edge is extremely impressive, man. And they're going to get to the quarterback. I'm surprised they didn't get to Carson Wentz a little bit more in this game, but they did wreak havoc in the backfield. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, too.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And then obviously, I think the run defense was something that was kind of worrisome for the Washington Commanders. Almost said football team. Almost.
Almost.
The Washington Commanders, they allowed 6.2 yards per play, and on the ground, 6.8 yards per carry. So definitely something, to keep our eyes on. And we did lose one of our draft picks for the season, Mathis with a torn meniscus. So that hurts. I didn't hear an update on Jonathan Allen yet, but he did go out late in that game.
Oh, I didn't notice that. He got hurt in that game.
Well.
And he had a sack in that game, too. He was playing well.
Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, they looked legit. Montez Sweat was getting in the backfield the entire game. He didn't have any of the sacks. Jamin Davis had a sack. Jamin Davis, blitzing might be the move for Jamin Davis. He looked really good when they were blitzing him. Also, who looked really good being blitzed was off the corner was Benjamin St-Juste. Both of those guys looked phenomenal when the blitzes were being called. But there's definitely some holes. I did want to give a big shout out to Mr. Finesse for the $4.99 super chat. Says, "Let's go Big Blue. All those negative heads, take your misery that away." So big shout out, Mr. Finesse. We appreciate you, my friend.
Definitely appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I mean, this game was crucial, man. When you get the 2 back-to-back interceptions from Carson Wentz, I know it's like people starting to get worried. I was chopping it up with Steffi Smalls because she had a video that came out like a few weeks later talking about how Carson Wentz sucks. And in the beginning of that game, I'm like, "You sure about that?" I'm sending her my famous Keenan
I saw
emojis. And then after the 2 interceptions, I'm kind of like, man, maybe you was right on that. But Carson Wentz showed a lot of resiliency in this game, and I think a lot of it had to do with the performance from another one of y'all players I definitely want to bring a little bit of attention to, which is Antonio Gibson. He had a great day, man. 58 yards on the ground. He had 14 carries, which is light work. That's good for a back like that that's going to be doing damage out of the backfield in the passing game with the 7 receptions for 72 yards and then 10 yards per catch pretty much, man. He did it all. And those numbers don't seem like, they're not like out of this world numbers, but they just show consistency. And also a thing that stood out to me was when this game was boiling down to like the last minute or two when you had to run the rock, you could see an extra emphasis on holding that football because they were trying to punch that ball out. Definitely. We saw that in the Giants game too. I saw Saquon Barkley took a punch to the stomach, dog. I'm like,
the uppercut,
what's
right?
That should be a flag, bro. I'm sorry. We can't be out here just throwing hands, dog, trying to get fumbles.
He Ayukin. I mean, that
he
was
literally
like
Ayukin on that. So, I mean, I got to give Antonio Gibson his props, man, because going into the season, he fumbled in that preseason game. People was worried about him and whatnot, man, and he really was a backbone for this team. I think you just knew that you didn't have to worry about the running, and Carson Wentz could focus on doing damage down the field. And, man, Wentz just looked comfortable. Like, that was the one thing I was worried about with our game with Daniel Jones was how comfortable he would be in the pocket. Carson Wentz looked comfortable. Even when he had defenders around him, he was never really in panic mode too much. He had the 2 interceptions, but the 2 interceptions, you got to live with that sometimes, especially when a guy has 4 touchdowns in the air. So for me, Antonio Gibson, man, one of the guys who I wouldn't call him an unsung guy, but Washington kind of spread the wealth as far as, who was going to take advantage and do things for this team and who was going to step up. You had people stepping up in a lot of different positions, offensively and defensively, and Gibson was definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I mean, it was so big, not just for this team, but for himself. Because
that confidence.
He needed it. He talked about, too, how things had kind of went after the fumble in the preseason game and how he let it affect him, mentally, and obviously emotionally, visible on the sideline in that preseason game. And to see him bounce back from that and from being knocked down to, kick returner, basically RB2, and then everything that evolved and happened, unfortunately, with Brian Robinson. And for him to just come and be like, I'm here to make plays. I'm here to play football. It was so important. And it allows Scott Turner to do so much with this offense. Mm-hmm. He made a catch. I don't remember exactly at what point it was, but he made a catch down the sidelines towards the red zone early in the game.
My God.
That was a wide receiver catch.
Well, he is an ex-wide receiver, exactly. So he showed you. He was like,
he
don't
showed
sleep,
you
I
right
got
there.
hands.
So it's like, and he ran the ball with authority. He didn't tiptoe. He was hitting hole. His vision looked a ton, so much better. His vision looked in this game. So, and I think they just utilized him properly. And it just, the weapons here are so crazy. It's like, I haven't felt this way seeing these sort of weapons at this point in Washington in a very long time. We got to talk like Clinton Porter, Santana Moss sort of situation.
Right.
Logan Thomas, we can't forget Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas made some big plays in this game.
And he came into this game a little bit questionable, and we didn't even know how many snaps he would get and whatnot. But he was definitely a factor in this game, man. Made some big plays. Logan Thomas, man, as long as he's healthy, he can be one of the top tight ends, especially in the NFC, I'll say. Could be a top tight end in the league, too, for sure. But I also want to talk about one more thing here. I know you got a lot of points to bring up about this too, man. We got to talk about the wide receivers because y'all wide receiver core is a little bit revamped. Brought in Jahan Dotson from Penn State, man. I really wanted that kid, man. I know the Giants couldn't draft a wide receiver first or second round, but I definitely wanted that kid. He was already taken off the board by the time we were drafted in the second round, I believe. But just showing up in the wide receiver core, and Samuel's looking like the guy y'all paid that money to, man, and he's looking like he's earning that paycheck. But a total of 153 receiving yards from the group, from those three you see on the screen, looking real swaggy, looking like the new posse, if you ask me. Some of y'all might
Mafia,
be too young.
baby. You know what I'm saying?
3-6 Mafia. I like that, too. 13 receptions out of the group and 3 touchdowns. I think the most important numbers are 3 touchdowns, 2 coming from Jahan Dotson, man, who he only had 3 catches on the day and 2 touchdowns, man. For rookie productivity, man, coming out week 1, that says a lot about that kid, and he was explosive. I broke down that one play on Twitter, just a real quick breakdown to show that Scott Turner's play calling is definitely showing up and showing out. And I don't know if it's because he has disposal to more weapons, but that play where they had Curtis Samuel motion to the backfield behind Carson Wentz, who was in the shotgun, looked a bit like a pistol formation. They faked the run to Gibson, and then they faked the pitch to Samuel, and then you got Jahan Dotson coming around the reverse, all but one block just not really taken care of. And if you get that block taken care of, Jahan Dotson's going to pick up a good big chunk, maybe a good 20 yards. But all in all, man, I think any fan with eyes saw that this wide receiver core from week 1 definitely upgraded. What did you see from the wide receiver core in this game?
I mean, I saw when your number got called, you made a play.
Facts.
Terry McLaurin, it was so crazy because literally I'm pretty sure it was Awthentik tweeted something about Terry McLaurin, and literally it was like 2 plays later was the dart. Now listen. That's the difference, the night and day difference between Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz is that Terry McLaurin throw.
He's got the big arm, and man, when you listen, there's not a lot of quarterbacks that can make that throw that accurate. Let's just be real. Everyone, we can date back to the I'm a Giants fan. Y'all know what it is, so I'm always related to a Giants thing, right? Darius Slayton, the play that he dropped in Washington last year, week 2 or week 3, whatever that was, right? Everyone's like, oh, big drop, Darius Slayton. I always tried to give him at least about a good 10 to 25% benefit of the doubt, right? The throw had a little too much velocity on it. It was a little too flat, but it was still a good throw that you got to catch in the NFL, right? This throw from Carson Wentz, bro, anybody could make that catch. It's like Terry was looking at the people defending him as he was catching him because it was such a great throw, and he's just like, oh, ball's going to land wherever I put my hands. Perfect. I mean, a 10 out of a 10 as far as the throw goes. And you're right about that because Heineke, you get less velocity. You get less rope on the throws when necessary. The one you talked about with Antonio Gibson on the sideline, the trajectory of it, pretty flat and just hit him right in the hands. Carson Wentz, that was the one thing I saw in this game. You didn't see that up and down, kind of issues or problems with accuracy in this game. He was accurate throughout most of the game. The one throw was that deep out on the sidelines that he threw the interception on. And it's like, he just missed it on the timing. Those kind of throws are a little bit difficult. And I think when the season kind of progresses along, You'll see the chemistry kind of come along with him and his wide receivers and things like that won't happen.
And let's be honest, too. The Dotson touchdowns weren't easy catches. Both of those touchdowns, he had to go up for the one in the back of the end zone.
The first
and then
one, and then put the feet down on the first one.
And then the other one, he came around in this. He basically went around the defender, and Wentz put it right there where the only place he could put it, where Dotson could get to it, and he made the catch. And
the first one was just so that's when it's going on the highlight reel. When you got to put the feet down like you doing a jump kick vertically. I like those kind of catches because
I wouldn't know because I haven't done many jump kicks vertically in a while.
Yeah, you ain't got that kind of agility. That's facts, man. This guy, he's out of shape. You need to get with me, dog. We need to go out there and throw that ball around a little bit more. But Jahan Dotson, he looks like he's going to be a weapon for the rest of the year, man. I definitely like what I saw from him. But I also want to talk about this too. You did briefly mention, the creative play calling from Scott Turner, and I want to just talk about a couple things that stood out to me. I talked about the reverse to Jahan Dotson, the screenplay to Amani Rodgers in the first half. I don't know if you remember that one on the left side. That was a really, really good play call.
Former quarterback.
I didn't even know that. Honestly, I never heard of this dude's name until he caught that screen. I'm like, who is that? Put down some notes on that. And then the touchdown to Samuel, the first touchdown that you guys had, he motioned inside from the outside wide receiver position. We know Samuels does good damage in the slot. When they lined him up on the outside, I'm kind of like, what's going on here? What kind of play they running here? He motions to the inside, then becomes the slot wide receiver, and you get a sprint out kind of route right off the line. Great throw from Carson Wentz. I'm going to relate this back to another play from the Giants last year, I believe it was, against the Buccaneers when maybe it was 2 years ago when Daniel Jones had to get the 2-point conversion. It was 2 years ago. He had to get the 2-point conversion and try to tie it up late against the Bucs, right? And it was a little sprint out route from Deion Lewis. And Daniel Jones was just late on it. He just missed it just a little bit late. The throw was a little behind him. What happens? You get a play that looked like it was a wide open touchdown. Instead, the defender got there, got his hand in, raked the ball out, and we end up losing that game. This throw to me with the sprint out to Curtis Samuel was the same kind of vibes. The throw was just a dart. Like when you throw the ball outside the hashes, which we saw good and bad from Carson Wentz in this vibe. We saw the bad one on the outside the hashes with the interception. But then on that touchdown, you saw the good vibes of it. A dart, short throw, but it's still outside the hashes. You got to put that close to the pylon. And he delivered. I love that play right there. And I think with those three plays, right, you're starting to see, I kind of want to ask you this, to be honest, because you're more of a fan from Washington. What is it that's making the play calling this creative? Like, it's almost like y'all got a new offensive coordinator. I had to ask you this when we were off air. I'm like, who's the offensive coordinator again? You like Scott Turner? I'm like, damn, he was there last year. I don't remember all of these kind of plays. So what can you attribute the success to the play calling? Is that just new year, new plays, or what is it?
It's the personnel. It's a healthy Curtis Samuel. It's a quarterback that can throw the ball farther than 30 yards. I mean, that it's that.
You saw me throw a 45. Now, you know good and goddamn well that Taylor Heineke ain't throwing the ball less than 30 yards. Give him a good 40. He could throw it as far as I could throw it, right? At least.
Yeah, we'll give him that. Listen,
give him a 45.
We'll give him the 45. But I mean, that's it right there. The difference is Carson Wentz and a healthy Curtis Samuel. And I think they use, remember about in our statistics show, I talked about how Antonio Gibson, when we were doing the predictions, I gave him another bump in his receptions this year, right?
Yeah.
Because he's been getting more receptions. That count has gone up over the last two seasons, his rookie season, his second season, and I expected an uptick this season. And I think they're finally realizing, okay, we can use him way more than just as a running back. So I think, people forget Scott Turner had Christian McCaffrey. I think that this is what you're going to see now moving forward, and you'll see it even more later in the year. But I think that to answer your question, it just has to be those two people. I did want to bring up really quickly Big shout out to Mike K.
I was going to highlight that too, man. Shout out to Mike K one time in the building,
Who
man.
says, yo, I'm late. I did start my own channel today. Honestly, this channel was part of the reason why. So happy Awthentik and The Beard is back. And listen, if you guys don't know, this is what Awthentik and The Beard is about. We're about community. We're about family, you know, and we just love to see things like this. This is what makes our day, you know, so big shout out to Mike K. We are glad we could be a part of inspiring you to go out and do this. So big shout out to Mike K. Thank you very
fire.
much.
And feel free to drop the link in the chat, man, so people can go over there and subscribe. Get Mike K an early start on these subscribers, man. Whatever we could do to help the community, y'all know what it is. And I need that link too, bro. I'm not sure if I'm subscribed up. Definitely need that link.
Absolutely. Let us know. And it was like 3 big comments in a row, so I couldn't ignore it anymore. The Curry said, let's not forget the hard count to end the game with a penalty.
Yeah,
something else we need with Wentz. That was huge. And then I had the last one is big shout out to TJ Alvey. Said, did the Beard lose some weight?
You got to bring up them ones that cites the self-esteem and all that, right? Like, hey, man, did the Beard lose some weight?
Listen, I got married, so like I put in hella work leading up to that wedding. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to keep that mentality, you know, eating a little bit better. You know, big shout out to my wife Josie because you know, she be cooking good meals, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, and I don't want to be on the cliche, right? But it's an amazing thing when you got a woman who can throw down in the kitchen, man. Especially when you can't. The Beard can kind. I won't say you throw down.
I can cook.
It's kind of like the dance thing, you know. It's like look, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like he's confident.
I feel like you give me these like New York Giants Daniel Jones things where it's like I do something good, but you know I think they don't really want to say I do it good.
Pump the brakes, dog. I pump the brakes a little bit, dog.
Big shout out to Ref the District also says facts. Both of you helped us immensely, and if you guys aren't subscribed to Ref the District, they put up awesome content, and they do a little bit of everything, but they are growing every single day. Fact. I just saw they dropped a short on the Carson Wentz slander, so shout out to the Ref.
Very knowledgeable too about the Washington Commanders too. They invited me to be on part of their draft show this year, where I picked the 5th pick for the New York Giants, and I picked Sauce Gardner. I was way off on that too, and I'm kind of glad I was off on that. But Sauce might be a good player. We'll see.
Appreciate that. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Says Beard looks much slimmer in person. That's a fact.
Man, maybe it's something with the lens, man.
Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat.
Why they think the Beard's like some heavy set overweight?
I mean,
dude,
there was some times, you know, last year where I kind of, you know, packed some pounds on, and then you know the hoodie with the jersey, kind of, you know,
the hoodie with the jersey is definitely a vibe. You know? Now they don't know about the old Beard, the pre-drinking days, the Beard who was like pushing 350 out this joint, but it's still his license. If one day we'll get that license picture to go viral on Twitter or something like that, because people be questioning him when he would go out. Like, is this even you? Where you get this fake ID, bro? Because this dude don't even look like you, cuz. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Y'all know what it is, man. And shout out to my homie Entertainer, man, who's live right now at the same time. I know a lot of Giants fans are probably split between the two shows. But before we move on to the next game, I want to get off into a couple of questions for you, too, before we get up out of here. Let's start with the running back position one time, because we know the Washington Commanders dealt with a heavy blow when Brian Robinson got shot in the offseason, but we did see a good game out of Antonio Gibson. I wanted to bring up a question on the screen that had to do a little bit with that, which is, can Antonio Gibson remain effective until Brian Robinson recovers from injury? What's your thoughts on that?
I absolutely. I mean, it's not even just about remaining effective. I think it's just the only thing Antonio Gibson has to do is hold on to the football, because everything else is going to come naturally, as he was already a top 10 running back his first 2 years in the season. So, in his career. So for me, it's just about holding on to the football. As long as he holds on to the football, I have no concerns and worries about Antonio Gibson, because I already know what he can do. And he showed that he can still do those things, plus more, with the way that he performed in his first week. So I'm not concerned about it all. As long as he holds on to the ball, he'll be more than effective. I think effective is almost like a downgrade to what he can possibly be. I'm excited to see what the two of them can look like together.
I know. That could really be
that's
a great
just throwing
tandem.
in another weapon, basically.
And you didn't get to see a lot of J.D. McKissick in this game either. You know, you saw a couple receptions, but a surprising stat that I saw about J.D. McKissick is he's 3rd of all running backs since 2020 in the passing game as far as receiving yards go. So we know he's a major threat. And you guys might have, like, you know, that trio, man, that Earth, Wind, Fire kind of vibes, man, when Brian Robinson gets back. Do you know when he's expected to get back? Has there been any more information on that?
So they didn't put him on the pup list, and I heard that he is looking good. And as far as a guy who just got shot 2 times. So I mean, I think they won't rush him back, especially if the offense is clicking like it is right now. I mean, think about it like this: they scored 28 points.
Yeah.
If you average 28 points a game, you're top 5 in the NFL as far as scoring points per game.
Let's pump the brakes now. Let's come back down to earth.
I'm just saying, as far as scoring goes,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure only 5 teams averaged 28 points or more last season. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there, So I'm excited to see what they look like together when they get back. And so to answer your question, as long as he holds on to the ball and performs like he did this first week, he's going to be more than effective leading up to the return of Brian Robinson.
Definitely, man. And on a real sour note, just speaking of somebody being shot, P&B Rock, an artist, was shot actually this past week. He was murdered at the Chicken and Waffle, the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles in California. So I just want to send my condolences out to his family and just make this a point to just bring up on the podcast that, man, like, in our culture, man, in this hip-hop culture especially, we got to find a way to just stop this, man. Like, we came up, and I think me and you talked about this a little bit, like, in our era of coming up in the mid to late 90s, man, it was only 2 real rappers that was slain like this, Tupac and Biggie being the main ones. A couple other people. We lost Proof to gun violence. We lost a few others, man. And it just seems like with this new generation, there's just like an emphasis on this gunplay and this gun lifestyle and a reckless, violent kind of crime, a lifestyle of crime, because this thing with P&B Rock was literally just a robbery where they were just trying to rob him. They say that somebody posted his whereabouts on Instagram. They found out where he was, went up there, and it was just a straight robbery attempt gone wrong where he ended up getting shot and killed. So I just wanted to bring that up and, send our condolences out to his family, man. Prayers out to him. And rest in peace to P&B Rock, man. He seemed like he was on his way. I just saw an interview with him on $1 million worth of Game, man. And the kid seemed like a good kid. He seemed like he was headed in the right direction, but still growing up and still growing to be a man. So that's very unfortunate that we lost another rapper this year, man. It just seems like we're losing rappers every week, every month to gun violence. So we got to find a way in our culture, man, and just bring some attention to this to just stop this. This got to stop. This is the main reason why I haven't been so active and involved in the hip-hop culture, for the past couple of years, because I feel like it don't represent me personally and don't represent what I do. But we got to find a way to change that. So rest in peace to P&B Rock and condolences out to his family for sure.
Big L was another one, too.
Yeah, Big L was another early one. It's definitely a few we missed. Big Pun wasn't gun violence, but Big Pun ended up dying in our era as well, too. But let's move on, man, and keep the vibes up. I know we got the both 1-0 teams here one time. I got one more question before we get up out of here. And I know you got the W, and we want to talk about all things that are positive for sure. I want to see how you feel about this one right here, and is after week 1, which player or position group for the Commanders worries you the most? And you see I got 2 players over there that I'm trying to hint maybe where you might go with this one. I know where I'm going with this one. How you feeling?
The defense is struggle bus. Okay. Now listen, it wasn't all bad. Okay, it wasn't all bad. I'm gonna give you the bad before we talk about the good. All right. Yeah. The bad was the run defense. I mean, like I said, they were giving up 6.8 yards per carry. And then obviously, the Currys talked about the linebackers. I will say Jamin Davis did look good. I mentioned it briefly earlier. When he's blitzing, he looks real good. He looks real good blitzing. He did have that 1 sack that ended up getting taken away because I want to say it was a Kendall Fuller penalty, if I'm not mistaken. But, third down defense looked pretty good. The red zone defense looked really good also, So red zone defense and third down defense, two areas that were of major concern all of last year, and especially for me moving into this year. That was some issues of concern. I think that they did handle that well in this game, but run defense was a little bit scary. I mean, and let's be perfectly honest, William Jackson did not have the best game, nor did Bobby McCain. There were a few instances where they both kind of got burnt or confused. I hate to be so cliche when say burnt, but there were a couple of instances where both of them looked out of place, to say the least. Trevor Lawrence missed on a couple of passes that could have easily changed the way that this game ended. So
the big drop from ATN was on 4th down too in the red zone, right?
Yep, 4th down in the red, and he walks in. He walks in for a touchdown if he catches that pass. So there is plenty to be worked on this defense. And I think that, there's going to be games like this year. We have to find a way, to continue to get to the quarterback. I mean, the best way you help your secondary is by getting to the quarterback, right? And the best way you get to the quarterback is by your secondary covering properly. So, it's this back and forth sort of situation. I love to see those blitzes, though, from Benjamin St-Juste and from Jamin Davis. Those are huge things that I think you can now use in the future. But yeah, there's definitely some holes in this defense. We got to find some ways to get some more sacks. It's not always about the sacks, though, because Montez Sweat got to Trevor Lawrence on that on a few plays, but specifically the last play of the game. And the gentleman who got that interception.
Let's wait to talk about him. Let's wait to talk about him.
All right,
we're going to wait to talk about him because I wanted to kind of give you a quick rebuttal, and then we're going to talk about him right now. So the one thing that I'm really worried about was the secondary. They allowed Christian Kirk to kind of just dice him up, man. 6 receptions for 117 yards. You also allowed 275 yards through the air from Trevor Lawrence, second-year quarterback. Completion percentage was not that great. I believe he was right around 50-something%. But, you got to find ways to limit the run. This game could have easily gone the other way. James Robinson, Travis Etienne both combined for over 100 yards, and they had a touchdown, and they were very limited in carries. They only had 15 carries in this game. Zay Jones, 8 in the receiving game as well, too, 6 for 65. So, for me, the Jaguars have a lot to look forward to, I feel like, because they do have weapons. Washington's got to find a way to clean it up. For me, if it's a position group, I'm going to go with the secondary, I think. And if not the secondary, I mean, you got to find a way to generate a little bit more pass rush. But now I want to talk about this player that you talked about. And before we talk about him, I had to upload his video just so people know because we had to make a new video for this guy. He's a rookie, I believe, too, right?
No, I think he's a second-year player.
Second-year guy, I believe, was out of Cincinnati. I could be wrong on that. But this
Cincinnati,
dude,
yes, I believe.
He was balling. Shout out to him. Now look, that hit is one of these kind of hits. This is
Spike don't care.
This one of them hits right there, dog. I don't know if you remember when Becky O'Shea met Spike at the goal line. That's what that looked like right there. Shout out to Derek Force, man. He had an incredible game, man, and that was the first big play that he made in that game was that big hit, and really got me on notice. I'm like, first of all, who is this dude? I never heard of this guy. I knew that Curl was not going to be in the game, but I didn't know that Forrest was filling in for him. So tell me a little bit more about this kid, man, and what you thought about the way he played and what was his debut, I guess, as a starter for the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, everybody was kind of the Curl news when I remember when he first popped up on the sideline and right before the season started with like in a sling and the thing with his thumb. It kind of came out of nowhere. So there was a lot of people nervous about that situation. And listen, Forrest didn't have the best game. He didn't have the best game. But it's kind of like Carson Wentz. Okay, Carson Wentz threw those 2 touchdowns. But what did Carson Wentz do? He came back and, those 2 interceptions, came back, and what did he do? He threw two touchdowns to win the game. And Forrest, he basically saved the game. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Yeah. Okay, that hit was a huge hit. They're down in scoring position on that hit.
Now let me ask you something about the hit too. I remember they were like confused if it was a fumble or not. Did they rule it an incompletion or a fumble?
I think they ended up ruling it an incompletion because I don't think he had. I mean, I was doing the. Why
do I feel like
suicides.
It might be the opposite? Because didn't it knock them out of field goal range? Then he got the pass deflection after, and they didn't end up getting no points on that drive. I feel like. I think it
was because they missed the field goal.
Yeah, they missed the field goal there.
Okay, so
they did call it an incompletion on that.
Yeah, so because after that hit had me running suicides from the living room to the kitchen.
Man, that was a hit.
That was an NFL hit.
And the ball popping out going 10 yards back, that did help the visual for sure.
Oh, okay. So the Curry said they did rule it a completion.
I thought they did. They ruled it a completion and fumble, and then because they lost the 10 yards on it, it knocked them back, and the field goal was either more difficult or knocked them out of field goal range, and they ended up punting. I can't remember what it was, though, but I think they did rule that a fumble on the field. So I was surprised because he was turning.
Yeah. It didn't look, when they ran the replay, because initially it totally 100% looked like he caught it and just got laid out. Yeah. But then when they showed the replay, it looked like he didn't have they use that.
He was like tucking it away. He caught it and he was turning to tuck it and he lost it. My memory's starting to jog me right now. It's like I remember on the replay, they said when you look at these in slow motion, sometimes it skews your perspective on things. And I remember them ruling opposite of that. So, yeah, I think the Curry's is right on that. It was a fumble on the field. So, I mean, that's even a bigger play. That's a bigger play now.
And then in that same possession, he had the pass break up in the end zone, which was huge. And then caps it all off with an interception to basically seal the victory.
Close out the game. Yeah.
You know, I mean, like you always hear it. It's one of the easiest phrases to use as a fan, as a pundit, as an analyst in sports, and it's next man up.
Facts.
Okay, and he stepped up. It was a huge performance on his part. Definitely one of the bright spots on the defensive side of the ball. And I think if you look at this long term, does this now allow you a little bit more flexibility with Cameron Curl and him? Can you now play Cameron Curl a little bit in the Buffalo spot?
Right.
You know, so you got a lot of like, you know, positivity to come off of his play.
Who's at the free safety position right now for you guys?
Bobby McCain?
Bobby
if I'm
McCain?
not mistaken?
Yeah. So maybe you could find a way to bring Cam Curl on the field along with Derek Forrest, because Derek Forrest played well. And I thought even when he was getting beat at times in coverage, he was really close. He was always close. I remember there was one play across the middle, a little slant route he got caught on, and he ended up chasing the tackle down. So, you know, I think you could find a way to put both of them on the field at the same time. Like you said, maybe moving one up, being a money backer, you know, or a cat backer, and being able to make some plays in the box as well. Because I like Cam Curl, too. He does a lot of good things as well.
Yeah, so it's definitely opened up your eyes, and it's great to see those sort of things happen in week one, because now it's like, okay, we got a whole season. We can kind of play with the toys a little bit differently. So definitely a big bright spot. All in all, it was a great way to come out with a W. It was definitely a roller coaster. You got the Wentz experience up and down. The defense made some big plays, gave up some big plays. I think you saw a lot of positives. It's easy to nitpick and look at the negatives and say, oh, it's the Jaguars. But listen, the National Football League doesn't have a W, a L, and an asterisk. Okay, it's wins and losses. We got the W. We're 1-0. It's on to the next game. So big shout out to the Washington Commanders for sure.
Definitely cannot be mad at that, man. Washington Commander fans, y'all enjoy this victory week just like me and my Giants fan are going to do, man. A great way to start off the year for Awthentik and The Beard. Both our teams winning. I love to see it, man. I cannot complain. The Commanders ended this game with a 13-play, 90-yard drive, man. So kudos to that offense. Y'all battled, and the word I like to use for that game is resiliency, man. Y'all definitely showed a lot of resilience in this game. And we'll see what happens week 2. Who do y'all got week 2 here coming up?
Detroit Lions.
Oh, that's going to be a good matchup. That's going to be a good matchup. I can't wait to see that one. All right, Giants fans, y'all know what it is, man, what y'all been waiting for. The New York Giants recap, man. We're going to break this one down one time. Man, I'm looking forward to this. I talked about this a lot on the Giant overreaction, and everyone was lit in there. Again, salute to all y'all that pulled up, man. Over 100 in that stream. We trying to continuously just keep growing this channel, man, and just, you know, we're doing a lot more pre-recorded content this year. We trying to just hit it on all aspects, man. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and hit that like button on your way as well. Let's go over this Giants and Titans game one time. All right, man. Shout out to the graphics department. Golly, they've been killing things, man. And shout out to my New York Giants, man. This was a really, really great test to start the season. I was talking to Entertainer about this, actually, when I was on his channel just a couple of days ago before the game. And I was talking about how I like that we're catching the Titans in the first week. You know, we'll be able to maybe catch them off guard. I picked the Giants to win this game 26-17. They end up winning it 21-20. And the way that this game was won, it really reminded me of our matchup against the Washington Commanders when Ron Rivera ended up going for 2 and didn't get it. And then he had to show up at the podium, and everybody was giving him a lot of junk about it, about going for 2. He should have went for 1. And I think it's one of those kind of calls at the end of a game where, you know, a fan base is definitely going to be a bit split on this. Some people are going to say they want to go the conservative route, and other people are going to love the aggressive route, which I'm one of them. As soon as we got that ball across the 50-yard line, I said on Twitter, I said, man, if the Giants score here, they got to go for 2. I know a lot of other people said the exact same thing. I saw Bobby said he said that they should go for a 2-point conversion as well before they scored. So I'm all about the aggressive vibes because, Yeah, Daniel Jones put up a decent game in this one. 17 of 21, 188 yards to 2 touchdowns. We know about the interception that everybody and their mama is talking about on Twitter. I don't know why you guys are focusing on things that you cannot change. Daniel Jones is the quarterback until the foreseeable future. The only other person, I could understand if people was like, I want to see Tyrod, right? If everybody was complaining about they want to see Tyrod, okay. But y'all wake up in the morning on a Tuesday after Victory Monday and you want to harp on one interception that the dude threw. And I don't even think it was that egregious of an interception. It was okay. It was a bad throw, but the read was one-on-one. Go to my Twitter and check out the tweets that I put up, man. It's Saquon Barkley, one defender on half of the field. There's no one on half of that field. So for me, it's not a bad read. Some people have brought to my attention some freeze frames where when Daniel Jones let the ball go, Saquon Barkley was actually in perfect position for a back shoulder throw. But the throw is bad. Nobody can deny that the throw was bad. But the Giants hung in this game. And I think they won this game. Not even I think everybody who's a Giants fan knows that the Giants won this game off the back of one player. And I really got to just highlight that because this guy went off. Saquon Barkley ended the day with 164 yards, man. This dude on 18 carries was averaging 9.1 yards per carry. Shout out to the Beard, too. You sharp. I just did that on the improv vibes. You just held me down, bro. 6 receptions for 30 yards, man. He had the touchdown. He had the 2-point conversion late in this game. He had big runs of 68 yards. It's tied for his second longest run of his career. And then he had another run of 33 yards in this game. It's Barkley's best game since his 189-yard performance in December of 2019 against yours truly, the Washington, formerly known as the football team Commanders. Saquon Barkley's 164 yards rushing was the most in a season opener in Giants history. We got a lot of Saquon nuggets here one time, man. The Giants, 238 yards rushing, because we cannot forget about Matt Breida, who definitely aided the rushing game as well. He was averaging right around 5 yards per carry. This is the most by the Giants since 2017, where we had 260 total rushing yards. Barkley also led the Giants with 6 receptions for 30 yards. His 194 yards from scrimmage is the 4th highest total of his career. A lot of people are talking about this might have been Saquon Barkley's best game. And I got to give you the alley-oop for a nugget here, too. You was telling me something off air about Saquon Barkley's numbers that kind of had to do with some of this as well.
I mean, Saquon Barkley was the New York Giants. He led the New York Giants in targets at 7, led the New York Giants in routes ran at 21, and led the New York Giants in total touches in 24.
Yeah, so, I think, I did not know that Saquon Barkley was going to be a pivotal part of this offensive scheme the way he was week 1. I thought they were going to kind of slow play him, get him involved in the passing game, some screen routes, things like that. But he was literally the workhorse. And I think that with a dismal first half. I mean, the first half, just Giants could get nothing going. We end up down, I think it was 13-0 at the half. And thank God that the Tennessee Titans allowed us to hang in this game because, if not, I mean, this game could have easily been a blowout. Our defense stood strong in this game, man. Bend, don't break philosophy. I had called for a bunch of run blitzing from Wink Martindale. He did not blitz that much, surprisingly, and I did have some of the numbers about the blitz. I think he blitzed on 11 total blitzes, I believe it was, on the day for the Giants defense. 7 of them were at the end of the game on the last drive, I believe it was. I mean, across the board, I think that the Titans allowed us to hang in this game, but more importantly, our defense really, really held it down.
The red zone defense.
The red zone defense was great.
To me was one of the most impressive things because once again, when you're in week 1, you're kind of looking back at some of the things that your team or certain players didn't do so well last year. And I thought to see the way that, the Giants played in the red zone defensively was something that was definitely a positive note to take forward into the next week as well.
Most definitely, man. And we can't forget we had a lot of pieces that were injured in this game, so we had a bunch of depth pieces on the edge. This is not the potential of this defensive unit, once we get our players back with Tibbs and Ojulari, I think that the pass rush is going to help the secondary out a little bit. The one thing that I noticed about this game is both teams were pitiful on third down. The Giants were 2 for 10 on third down, and the Titans were 3 for 11 on third down. The Giants did go for it on fourth down late in this game, and they put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands, and he took care of business. So we were 1 for 1 on fourth down. But, I mean, outside of Saquon Barkley, I do like what Daniel Jones did in this game. I don't think that this is the kind of day to wake up and be harping on Daniel Jones. And I understand that people are still bitter and pissed off about what he's done last year, not only last year, but the first 3 years of his career. But for the kid to come out here and be 81% completion percentage on the day, and go ahead and bring up his numbers. We might as well bring up his numbers. I mean, like, that's just very, 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 very impressive for Daniel Jones. The 81% from Daniel Jones is the best of his career. You know, that's a career high in completion percentage, 17 of 21. There was one drop as well that was involved in that, so he really should have been 18 of 21. He had the interception. We know about that. You know, the Giants, man, I could say that we showed resilience in our game as well, too. You know, being down in that game 13-0, this is where the coaching showed up. You saw Brian Daboll make adjustments at the half. We were a little bit past happy in the beginning of this game. I'll keep it funky, you know, and it just wasn't working out. Daniel Jones never looked real comfortable in the first half. The offensive line did not get their feet, you know. They just weren't, like, confident, I feel like, you know, especially in the interior. The left guard position was shaky almost all game. We were doing a rotation with Joshua Ezeudu, and I believe it was Ben Bredeson getting some snaps out there. And, you know, that's a rookie first game. You gotta understand that he's probably going to have a couple of ups and downs in that game. He did have a great block on that big run from Saquon Barkley of 68 yards, and those are the kind of things we got to do with Saquon. We got to get the run blocking happening up front. Don't let him get hit in the backfield. That's the number one thing for Saquon Barkley. Allow him to get to the line without getting hit. He's going to make people miss. But as far as Daniel Jones, I love what he did here, you know, and Brian Daboll kind of taking the ball out of his hands at certain moments. You know, I feel like if it was Joe Judge or, you know, Pat Shurmur with the last coaching regime, they kind of put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands a little bit too much at the end of games, putting a little bit too much responsibility on him. And a stat that stood out to me, a little bit of a nugget here, the Giants had lost their previous 10 games when they trailed after 3 quarters. We were down in this game after 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, man, they really showed up. Saquon Barkley really came to life, and that running game allowed for some other things to open up to get Brian Daboll his first win as an NFL head coach, man. And defensively, I can flip the script here just a little bit, man. You know, people was ragging on Tate Crowder a lot going into this game. I said this on the Giant overreaction a bunch, man. I tweeted out, man, yo, I'm not scared of Derrick Henry. Somebody responded to me today, and they said, I'm waiting on you to say that you're not scared of CMC so we can get the same results for next week. I told him, pump the brakes a little bit. When we get to Thursday, I'm going to let you know how I'm feeling about CMC. But I wasn't scared of Derrick Henry. He had 21 carries in this game for 80 yards, I believe it was. You know, and that is effective running. Don't get me wrong, but for one of the best running backs in the league, definitely a top 3 running back, to hold him to that few of yards is, you know, that's an outstanding accomplishment for the Giants. Now, speaking of Derrick Henry,
I did want to say, imagine this. If I would have told you before this game started that the New York Giants would outrush the Tennessee Titans 238-93, you would have said I was crazy.
I don't know if I would have said you was crazy. Do you remember one of the questions during our preview show? Do you remember one of the questions? Who will be more effective in this game, Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry?
I'm pretty sure we both said Saquon Barkley, right?
We both said Saquon Barkley, and I think we were both right. I don't think we expected it to be Saquon Barkley, one of his best games ever, right?
Or 238-93? You held the Tennessee Titans to under 100 yards on the ground.
Yeah, and they did. I did notice that they were effective getting the ball. I believe that was Hilliard coming out of the backfield for them a little bit.
He made some catches out the backfield.
He definitely made some good catches out the backfield. But to limit Derrick Henry under 100 yards, now check out this stat. I had to go digging for this nugget. The Titans are 25-3 when Henry has 100+ rushing yards. They're 22-3 in the regular season and 3-0 in the playoffs. So really, I really should have had the roadmap be, we got to keep Derrick Henry under 100 yards, like how my man The Beard would do last season, right? I didn't notice this nugget until after the game, but that's just a great accomplishment for the New York Giants, man, to hold him to around 80 yards. I think they did a fantastic job. Tate Crowder leveled my man Derrick Henry. I saw, you know, like Giants fans, man, shout out to all Giants fans, right? I love all of y'all, right? I do love all of y'all, right? And I love y'all like a brother or, you know, family member, because you know how it is when you love a family member, right? It's like, they could do something grimy. You might not like them, but you love them. And that's how I feel about some of my Giants fans out here. I saw people like retweeting tackles of people who had hit Derrick Henry in a similar fashion. And they're just showing like form tackles and just regular. I'm just like, dog, Tate Crowder leveled that man.
Like he was E.T. Henry was off the ground.
Dog,
He
you
was
could
off
have
the
got that
ground.
man a cot. He could have laid sideways on a cot. The dude was literally horizontal in the air. And he said that he made it an emphasis to lower his pads after that, that he felt like he was running too high. When you got a big body like that, you feel like you could truck people with your thighs and, your lower extremities and things like that. You could run up high and these little weak defenders going to fall off you. And then a guy like Tate Crowder comes out here and levels Derrick Henry. So big shout out to Tate Crowder. And when I saw him in the press conference, this is the first time I've really ever seen him in the press conference before. He was super confident, straight to the point. He was all about business. They were trying to ask him a bunch of questions like, how does it feel to level Derrick Henry? And he was just like, man, it's just another day in the office, man. I'm just going out here and my coaches are putting me in the best position to succeed, and I'm just trying to execute what they are calling for me to do.
You know who that sounds like?
Who that sound like?
Tuto with the $4.99 super chat says, salute Awthentik and Tim, drop by to pay our proper respects, and for all Giants fans around the world, slap all stinky buds losers out of the door. Forget about it.
Hey, shout out my man Tuto, man. He left a comment on one of our videos earlier today, man. He's recovering from an injury. I can't remember if he said it was a shoulder injury or not, man. Best wishes to you on that recovery, man. We need you back on that field. You know what it is. Tuto, one of the best rugby players representing that Italy.
Indeed. Big shout out to Sebastian as well on the $1.99 super chat says, Jones hate will be high because the pressure is on.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts, Sebastian. That's definitely facts. Now, let me ask you this, Sebastian. You think if Daniel Jones, let's just say, continues to play at this level, let's say, 2 touchdowns a game, 1 interception, which would leave you at the end of the year at about 34 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. You think if we get down to the end of the year, people still going to have those kind of vibes? Like, I don't want to call it hating. I never like it because I hate when people say that. You got them Daniel Jones haters. But today I understood it on Twitter. I'm not going to lie, because y'all waking up dissecting this man's game. He had 4 passes that didn't hit the intended target. Like, of all quarterbacks in the NFL, he had the best target percentage of all quarterbacks. So, like, for me, Daniel Jones played a dink and dunk type of Dak Prescott game. But then when called upon, he made the big plays. And then, you know what I hate when people do this too? They be like, 2 touchdowns. There were some content creators that called 2 touchdowns, and I thought they was crazy. They might still be a little crazy, but they was right. And I'm glad they was right. But I see people doing this too. If you remove the big play to Sterling Shepard, then he only had, man, come on, dog. What are we doing,
the big
dog?
Play is part of it. You don't remove the big play. You want the big play.
Like, come on. What are we doing here? You want the big play. And Daniel Jones took the shot on a 4 vertical route type of concept. He threw it to the back shoulder person, or he threw it to the backside play, which that's the last person you expect to get it. He was kind of on the right hash and threw it back to the left. People were like, the ball was short. Dog, he's got pressure right in his face. The ball got there. Sterling Shepard caught it. He ran into the end zone. I don't care about nothing else. That's,
you know what
it
else?
Is.
We talked about this on Twitter simultaneously about how the play calling was different, obviously, for the Giants too, because all that Saquon damage was opened that up, and they took advantage of it. That's what you got to do. Like, if you're going to have a game plan where Saquon is crushing and Daniel Jones is being effective, not a lot of passes, but is being effective. And then you need that big play for all of those pieces coming together for that big play to happen is what they were planning to happen. So, facts. I mean, like, it's crazy to me. Crazy,
I wonder if their game plan was that they could throw the ball more, and then they realized that at halftime, like, let's just get back to the basics and get back to the run. Because I'm surprised they weren't running Saquon Barkley in the first half like they did in the second half. I am surprised about that. And there was just a couple of plays there I feel like if I got to be critical, which I always am critical for Daniel Jones or on Daniel Jones, he had some opportunities in that game late. I counted them. 4 opportunities to tie the game up. And something goes wrong on every drive. I'll pin 2 of them on him. There was the 1 3rd down and 6, I believe it was, where he got shoestring tackled, man. You got to get out of that. If we're going to consider you athletic and a mobile quarterback, as a lot of people like to say, I've been saying this on this channel for a long time, that he's not a mobile quarterback. He can do mobile things, but I don't call Aaron Rodgers a mobile quarterback. He can do mobile things too, but I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers running RPOs and read options and things like that. So for me, it's like you got to make those plays. Daniel Jones had 4 windows. I counted them all. And he didn't get them through. Then they had to rely on Saquon Barkley to really get us in position to score. Oh, my God. And the greatest thing about the Saquon Barkley 68-yard run, we were backed up all the way to our own 10-yard line on 1st and 10 to start the 3rd quarter, and this man breaks off a huge run. flips the field position, let alone gets us in position to try to make some more plays and put some points on the board, man. Saquon Barkley was just, you know how like this some old school vibes. A lot of y'all youngins not gonna understand this. But when the Sega Master System first came out, not the Sega Genesis, the Sega Master System came out, there was a game on there that came with it. You know, like before Genesis came with Sonic, Sega Master System came with 2 games. One was called Golden Axe and one was called Alter Beast. You started off as this real skinny dude, right, in Alter Beast, right? And then you grab these things in the game, and it was called a power up, and it'd be like power up, and you gained a little bit more muscle, right? And then if you got 3 of those, you know, you get the power up, he got a little more swole. On the 3rd power up, he's looking like a bodybuilder, right? Walking around swole, chest can't even move, right? On the 4th jump, he turned into the Alter Beast, and this screen flashed on the screen that was like a wolf, and then he would like mutate into the Alter Beast. And to me, that's what Saquon Barkley did in this game, man. He literally just turned into, some people say he went back to 2018. This might be a version of Saquon Barkley we really haven't seen. I heard Entertainer and Mike Too Nice talking about this on their channel too, or on their live just now. Like, he was lowering the shoulder. He was giving you the shakes. He was in the passing game. The statistic that you brought up, I mean, he led the Giants in everything, literally everything. So this might be a different beast we haven't seen from Saquon Barkley yet. I'm extremely excited to see how this season goes for the rest of the year, man, because, like, if we can continue to look like that second half, the Giants are going to surprise a lot of people, and they're going to win a lot of surprise games. We got 3 games coming up here on this list, man, that look like, hey, we play that way, we play in that second half, we might be able to compete and contend in this division. I mean, we'll see how things go, man, but I'm extremely excited about it.
You know who else got that power up?
Tudo.
$4.99 power up says, I've been listed on the PUP and banned from all team facilities and training centers, but nothing wrong with my legs and left shoulder. I've been working out on my own.
My man Tudo out here getting it, dog. My man got that power up. Y'all don't know about that. Only my OGs know about that power up one time. But yeah, Saquon, I mean, all in all, great game by the Giants. What you want to say about Saquon?
I just want to say this one thing, because like the way you just brought that up, there was something I didn't really think about, because it's so easy to compare a guy to what a guy once was, right? But I mean, it was all there. You talked about it. And the speed, Saquon was running north and south. So the run blocking was a lot better. The pass blocking, was something to talk about for another day. But the run blocking was there. But Saquon's speed, power, balance.
Balance.
On that 2-point conversion, the 2-point conversion, it was that Saquon that you're not getting down on the first try because of the balance. Like, to me, that was one of the most important things to see: the speed, the balance, the agility, and the power all together at once. It's like he was like Captain Planet by himself. He really was. He was wind, water, and fire all in one. Shout out to Saquon Barkley, man. Them 164 yards on the ground, man, and did damage on minimal carries for those kind of yards, man. 9.1. 18 carries. Yo, if we continue to do this, I'm going to be a happy Giants fan, man. Shout out to the Giants gang. Y'all know what it is, man. Victory Tuesday here at Awthentik and The Beard. So we got about we got a good 2 more days before we get to Thursday, and I still get to gloat about my New York Giants before we enter week 2. I'm extremely happy. Couple questions about this game that I want to bring up and see how you feel about this, and also see how the chat feels about this one time too. Let's start with the success of the rushing game one time. What was the key factor that enabled the Giants to have so much success in the running game? You want to start with this one, or you want me to piggyback, or you want to piggyback off what I'm going to start with it? I'm going to start, because I'm going to be short and sweet and simple. The key factor that enabled the Giants to have so much success in the running game was Saquon Barkley's hunger.
Hunger? Why wait?
Because listen, all you got to do is take a look at that clip when he came to the sidelines.
Oh my God. Chills, man. Chill bumps, bro. Chill bumps.
Look, I got my hairs are up on the arm right now. Hairs. Listen, because I say this, I said this before, I'll say it again. As a football fan, you want to see players like Saquon Barkley doing well. It's good for the game of football. So to me, it was just he for the first time. I mean, you've seen Saquon take over a game. You've seen Saquon be the best player on the field for the New York Giants. But I think this is the first time you've seen Saquon Barkley put the team on his back for victory.
You're right about that. You are right about that, man. I think
that's the big difference right there. That to me is it right there. I mean, there's obviously a lot of other factors, but Saquon Barkley, to me, he came out hungry for this, and it showed. It showed.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. He's not himself when he's hungry. Shout out to Snickers one time. We need that sponsorship. Y'all know what it is.
Sponsor.
I would go with Saquon Barkley as well too, but I also got to bring up my man Brian Dable one time because the philosophy and the scheme in the second half and the adjustments, these are things that bad coaches don't do. They want to die on a game plan they've been working on all week, and we saw it from Brian Dable when the passing attack wasn't working the way that he had planned. He went to the running game strictly, almost it felt like in that second half. It felt like Saquon Barkley was just getting carry after carry after carry. And really, from what I saw with my eyes, I only counted one play where Saquon Barkley was hitting the backfield and stopped for a loss. You know, when you could get a guy like that moving forward, it reminds me of Barry Sanders. Like, Barry Sanders could do damage in the backfield. If penetration came from the defense, he could spin and make guys miss and all that. But Barry Sanders' most effective runs were when he got to the line of scrimmage first without defenders touching him, and then you're going to get the shake and bake. You're going to get the cyber Barry. Dare I start one for my man Saquon Barkley? We need to see what's up with that cyber Saquon because Saquon was looking like Barry Sanders on Sunday, man. And I want to see more of that, so I got to give some props to Dable. I also want to bring up another point is maybe Kafka in the box, man, and not on the field had a lot to do with this too. Seeing that he had an opportunity to maybe scheme up some running plays because on the big run from Saquon Barkley, it was like a staggered draw play where they went kind of weak side after Saquon got the ball. And once he got past the line of scrimmage, it was nothing but daylight. So shout out to Kafka as well. Shout out to this whole coaching staff for the New York Giants. Brian Dable doing his thing. I definitely was glad to see Brian Dable in that locker room. You know, he was doing, I don't know what it was. He was doing a little nay-nay. He kind of reminded me of you a little bit.
Not doing the beard. I knew you were coming with me with that. Do not compare me to old white head coaches dancing in locker rooms, okay? Because we've seen it too many times. I'm not
we have.
I got a little bit more.
You got a little bit more swag. What score out of 1 to 10 would you give Brian Dable on his dance moves?
Listen, I love a man who tries. I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna give him a 6.78.
I like that. It's very generous. I was gonna stick with a score that didn't have the decimals, and I was gonna go a 6. But if we're talking about
I went to Olympic
IMDb
scoring
movie,
system.
Yeah,
I went to Olympic scoring system.
I give him a 6.7 as well. I like that score. I wish I had a card in my hand that I could hold up. I definitely like that score. All right, man. So one more question before we get up out of here, and I wanted to borrow a little bit of vibes from the Washington game and how we talked about what position was the one that worried you the most. We've been talking all this good stuff about the New York Giants. Let's talk about some bad stuff and talk about what position group worries us the most. And I didn't even get to check on the chat to see how they felt about that. What was the number one reason for the rushing game to be?
They were saying dabbles, the balls.
The balls, yeah. He definitely has some balls in this game to go for it on that 2-point conversion and win the game. But for this one, man, after week 1, which player position group am I worried about the most for the New York Giants? I think for me it's the wide receiver group. And 2, it's weird. I'm split on it, but I am most worried about the wide receiver group, and I'll tell you why. So the part that I'm not that worried about is we had some young guys step up, man. Richie James had an excellent game here, man. You know, besides that one big drop. Out of nowhere. I think New York Giants fans knew he was capable of making some big plays, but we didn't know that he was going to be like a focal point of the passing game. And Richie James, 5 catches on the day. He was averaging 11.8 yards per reception. He had 59 yards. And then Sterling Shepard was a major surprise in this game, too, with the big play. That was, like, extremely surprising. Like, if I was going to tell you somebody was going to catch a big play down the field, Sterling Shepard would have probably been the last guy I thought of, to be honest, right? And then to see him get that, like, whatever it was, a 60-yard bomb, catch it, he was completely cool, calm, and collective. And then you saw a little bit of burst after catching the ball. The defender could have made a play and maybe made a tackle. Sterling Shepard just makes the best out of that and gets in the end zone. I was ecstatic at that point. I was telling Patrick during that time, we were texting, and he was very down. He was like, man, I don't know, man. It's a lot of the same, bro. Like, they're getting pressure on Daniel Jones. He's not able to kind of maneuver in the pocket and get away. We were talking about how it looked like he was stepping up into the pressure. There's one play where the right tackle looks like he's kind of getting beaten. Daniel Jones just panics and steps up, walks right into a sack. He did not have to do that. And we were both kind of in panic mode. And I was telling him, 1 touchdown going to get us back in this game, bro. Like, just be cool. We get 1 touchdown, dog. We right back in it. They letting us hang around. They're making that mistake. Let's see if our guys can get on the board. Sterling Shepard gets on the board and represents this wide receiver core to the fullest. Now, the things that I didn't like was No catches from Kadarius Toney. He was only on the field for 7 snaps in this game. What's going on? We talked about a lot of other people saying that they were chalking it up to him not knowing the playbook. I can't believe that, man.
No,
I just can't.
No.
I can't believe that. I think that maybe there's some kind of underlying injury. We do know that Brian Daboll is not going to tell fans everything they want to know. And we were going to make a video about this, but I kind of let it just, I swept it under the rug. But in the press conference, Brian Daboll was asked about, chewing out Daniel Jones on the sidelines. And Brian Daboll does like this. He was like, I was screaming to somebody upstairs in the headset. Well, go look at the video. Brian Daboll not wearing a headset. You were screaming on Daniel Jones. But I like that about you. Because our old coach, too transparent, telling everybody all the stuff they want to hear. This guy's doing this guy's doing that. If Kadarius Toney is a little bit banged up and they're trying to hide the injury, I like what Brian Daboll is doing, but I am worried about the wide receiver group. Kenny Golladay, I thought, had a decent game with the limited targets that he had. 2 catches for 22 yards, and he did it with the kind of damage that I expect to see from him. Slants, skinny posts, crossing routes. We didn't see the fade route. That would complete him if he could catch a fade route, 50-50 type catch. But I'm not as worried about Kenny Golladay as I am about, say, Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson, who got his first catch in this game and went out after the first catch talking about the knee didn't feel right.
What's the latest on that?
Day to day. Brian Daboll keeping things very vague. I'm not mad at him on that.
Brian day to day.
Brian day to Daboll. I like it. It's a good way to operate because he's going to keep teams on their toes when they go to scheme for us. You got to think about a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, and you still got to think about Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney did have the 2 runs, which I thought he
looked
healthy.
good.
Yeah,
I mean, you saw what is the word? What is the word? The authentic definition of Kadarius Toney. The most twitchy of all twitchiest.
Twitchy. Shout out to everybody who's tuned in on Twitch right now too. Kadarius Toney, extremely twitchy.
He looked good. And you know what's crazy is I saw it as soon as he touched the ball that first time. The timeline went bananas. Why isn't he in the game? It was going in like crazy because like you kind of forget about it, but then when you see him and you see his abilities and what he can do, the sort of like Curtis Samuel aspect of the offense he can be, it's like, well, why isn't he out there? So,
why isn't he out there?
It's going to be very interesting. We'll talk about it, obviously, on Thursday night. Tune in at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same place, same time. But I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that moves forward.
It is. I wanted to bring up one chat from the live chat here one time. Shout out to Steven Arce one time. He says he was wearing a headset, though. He threw it to the ground just when the camera got on him. It was already off. Well, that goes to show you right there. He's heated, grabs the headset, throws it on the ground. Now, when you saw his hands, I'm going to go full screen for this one. When you saw his hands going, the hell is you doing, dog? Yeah, that couldn't have been to them upstairs because the headset was already off. You know what I'm saying? So I like what Brian Daboll's doing, man. You got to keep things in that gray area, keep teams on their toes. They're going to be game planning for all our players. And I'm glad he chewed out Daniel Jones.
And Daniel Jones stepped up afterwards.
And he definitely stepped up afterwards. You're 100% right on that. And we're done with the pampering, man. Let's stop pampering this quarterback and being like, oh, we did him a disservice. And, man, the dude's in the NFL making millions of dollars, man. Go out there and play well. And he did that in this game. I think Daniel Jones played winning football. We talked about this last year. This game, it wasn't fantastic from Daniel Jones, but he did play winning football, man. And I like what Brian Daboll is doing. I like the kind of schemes that he's putting Daniel Jones in a position to do things well. And the second half really proved that. You know, you could have just put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands and maybe we might have lost this game. But maybe slowly but surely Daniel Jones will learn and find a way to be clutch. You know, he did throw the touchdown at the end of that one. And I got to give him a pass on the 2-point conversion because, yeah, he did a little shovel pass. Saquon Barkley took care of the rest. And the Giants win the game. So I'm a little bit worried about the quarterback position. I'm a little bit worried about the injuries and the depth, and I'm worried about the edge rushers, obviously, if they can't get back on the field. We're hoping that Ojulari and Tibbs could get back for week 2, but don't rush things. I trust Brian Daboll. This first game, I think he showed me a lot, and I gained a lot of trust for him. And, I can trust Brian Daboll moving forward and the rest of this coaching staff to, put our players in the best position to try to win games. And I think it's pretty obvious now the Giants are not tanking as some of the other people thought, especially on Twitter, like, yeah, well, we're tanking. We cut Blake Martinez. And I think that this shows proof that we're not tanking, man. We're trying to win games here. And Brian Daboll's second half adjustments is exactly what caused that. And shout out to the Giants, man. Everybody held it down in this game in that second half. If we play a great first half, we might run away with this game, and it might be a blowout.
Huge game. Huge game. First game as a head coach. Quarterback's back against the wall. Running back who's got something to prove. I mean, it all came together and it showed on the field, and that's a huge win for the New York.
That's
Giants.
a huge win. When I talked about the schedule early on in this year, those were the 3 games that really worried me. It was the Packers, it was the Titans, it was the Minnesota Vikings, the Colts kind of, and I believe it was the Ravens I think we have on the schedule this year too. That those were all the worrisome games. So to get a game that, hey, most people pick the Giants to lose in this game. I picked this to win, but to get a game where most people think we're going to lose, I remember I saw the graphic for when they do like a NFL preview, and then they show you all their writers who they picked. It was like 8 writers, bro, and every one of them picked the Titans in this game. So to sneak away with a game here that we thought, that the Giants were supposed to lose is fantastic, and I think that's why our Week 1 win a little more impressive than them Commanders. Jaguars, I think y'all were supposed to kind of beat them, but a win is a win is a win. You know what it is, man. Let's get this read out the way real quick. We're going to take a commercial break after we do the read, and then we'll get to the Eagles game and the Cowboys game and then get y'all out of here. Don't forget that when we leave here, we're all going to go and raid the New York Revival stream. They got Super Bowl winning kicker Lawrence Tynes on there. Y'all know what it is, man. New York Giants stand up one time. Let's do this Manscaped read one time, and then we'll keep the show pushing here. So, let's get some fire. Let's get some authentic fire in the background for this read, right? Yeah. Manscaped, y'all need to get some of my beats one time. Y'all know what it is. Support for Awthentik and The Beard, the best division in football, is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Bars. Manscaped, performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer to you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code AATB at manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATB. That's for Awthentik and The Beard. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. They definitely gave me some bars on that one right there. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Bars. I love it, man. Y'all know what it is, man. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to get back to y'all with the rest of these games. Stay tuned. Awthentik and The Beard, the best division in football. We'll be right back. I'm going to say for now, this is an overreaction.
Buried him in the turf with his chin wrapped around his nostrils. He called a timeout. Good wherewithal by Eli.
Great wherewithal. Put this to music. I don't think he stepped out either. That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Y'all know what it is, man. Check us out every Monday on the Giant Overreaction. Salute to everybody that pulled up on Monday, man. Over 100 in that stream, man. We are lit. 1,000 views on that one, man, in just under 24 hours. Definitely appreciate all of y'all pulling up and checking us out for the Giant Overreaction. All right, Beard, let's get into this next one time, man. What we going to be talking about? We talking about them Eagles first, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about these Eagles, man. The Eagles, man, they definitely took care of business over there with them Lions one time. This game was a little bit closer than anticipated for most of the Philadelphia Eagles fans. I don't got the score right in front of me. What was the score of this one again?
And it was 38-35 Philadelphia.
38-35 Philadelphia. They led by 3 scores in this game at one point too, man. I thought they were going to run away with this one. Philly seems to do this a lot, man, like where they get that big lead, man, and kind of take their foot off the gas. I can remember at least 2 games last year that kind of happened like that. But I think the story in this game, and not even the story, the controversy from this game is the way that Jalen Hurts played in this game. But I thought that the stats showed that Jalen Hurts, man, he did some good things, but he did a lot of good things, and he did some bad things is what I meant to say here. Now, let's take a look at these stats one time. 90 rushing yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown. He had no passing touchdowns on the day, but he did have 243 passing yards. The main thing that I think that people are really worried about is the 56% completion percentage on the day. I don't got the numbers in front of me, but it was ugly. It was definitely ugly. I actually should pull that game up one time just so I got the box score here in front of me. But when you account for 333 yards of offense and a touchdown, I'm not complaining. I think a lot of people get so caught up in seeing quarterbacks play this game in a traditional fashion, and that's why guys like Jalen Hurts catch a lot of flack. But to me, Jalen Hurts is maturing into a really good quarterback where I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to need to go into the draft and dip for a quarterback next year. Even though it's a deep draft class and whatnot, they're upgrading, building the team around him. I think Jalen Hurts played fine. I mean, I kind of want to see these stats from quarter to quarter to quarter and see where it really went wrong. I do remember he started off slow. I think he was 0 for 5.
He started off slow because there was a lot of talk on Twitter, too. They were saying Jalen Hurts has a noodle arm. But I don't know. Then he made it. There was a one play. It was a beautiful pass. I think it was like a 40-yarder or something like that to A.J. Brown, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the other thing, too, is they didn't really utilize all the weapons. Devonta Smith had 0 catches in this game. So
that's crazy. I think one target or something.
And
four
listen,
targets. It was four
targets.
targets. Sorry about that.
And the running game, though, is the Philadelphia Eagles are a run team. So it's like if you can get 243 passing yards, and 0 interceptions out of a run-first team, that's pretty darn good.
And then to rush over 200 yards in the game, 216. Yeah, like that's a good look. That's a really good look. We know they're a running team. I don't know if they got away from the RPO a little bit in this game or what. I couldn't keep my eyes on this game. I was more focused on the Washington Commanders game. But I mean, to me, this is a game that you see it's 38-35. But at the end of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles dominated this game. They didn't score any points in the fourth quarter, and I think that's what really hurt them. They were up by 14 entering the fourth quarter, or they were up by 17 entering the fourth quarter in a 3-score game, and the Lions kind of tried to surge back. I think it's easy to kind of be in a prevent. You try not to make mistakes at that point when you're up by 17, and a team can easily come back. Now, I know we don't really truly believe in garbage time over here on Awthentik and The Beard, but that fourth quarter is kind of some garbage time.
Yeah, but they made a game of it. And
Definitely made a game.
The Philadelphia Eagles gave up a ton of yards on the ground. DeAndre Swift had a monster game, 15 carries, 144 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Detroit Lions as a team ran for 181 yards. So this Philadelphia
9.6 a carry for that man.
Yeah,
Swift.
The Philadelphia.
You could see he was rejuvenated in the Hard Knocks, man. Passionate.
We love DeAndre Swift here at Awthentik and The Beard. You can definitely hear us talk about DeAndre Swift every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the parlay here at Awthentik and The Beard. But listen, that Eagles defense, they're going to have to – it's supposed to be really good. They had some issues. You gave up 35 points to the Detroit Lions. I mean, I know the Lions are an improved team, but still, you should not be giving up 35 points to the Detroit Lions. Shout out to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had a good game for the Detroit Lions as well. Came right back where he left off last season. But listen – Jalen Hurts is going to get there. He just, that completion percentage is probably going to be the one thing that people keep their eye on for most of the season. As long as he doesn't turn the ball over and he gradually gets better at that completion percentage, I think you're going to see Jalen Hurts take these steps as a quarterback in the National Football League. I mean, Josh Allen had an issue for a little while with his completion percentage
52% his
too.
rookie year, 58 his second year, and then when they brought in Stephon Diggs, he jumped up to 68 the following year.
And that's what I'm looking for.
Jalen Hurts. That's what we want out of him. Throwing the ball 32 times is a little bit too much for me for Jalen Hurts, especially in a game where you controlled it for the most part. I just think that Sirianni kind of gets away from the identity, man. Just keep running the ball. Miles Sanders did have a good game, though. Just 13 carries for 96 yards. And, I mean, it's not like they neglected the run because Jalen Hurts had 17 for 90 yards. Both of them scored touchdowns, and they did get the ball to Kenneth Gainwell a couple times. Listen, they had touchdowns out of Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott all in the running game. So it's not like they neglected it, but we just want to see less throws from Jalen Hurts. I don't know what put them in that position, but I think the man of the hour for this matchup was definitely A.J. Brown, and his presence was felt. I mean, look at these numbers here. 155 yards on 10 receptions. He averaged 15.5 yards per reception, 10 targets. Was it 10 targets? I almost want to double check that. Did he catch every target?
If that's the way it is, that's what you want right there. 10 targets, 10 catches?
Yeah, I almost feel like that might be a mistake on the graphics department. I don't know. 10 targets, 10. Did he really? I think he had 11 targets. He might have had 11 targets on the day. But A.J. Brown definitely made his presence felt in this game. When you look at all the other wide receivers and the pass catchers in this game, Dallas Goedert was second with 3 receptions, man. So your leading wide receiver in A.J. Brown has 10. The next guy has 3, Kenneth Gainwell. And then it was just running backs. Kenneth Gainwell, Miles Sanders both had 2. And then Zach Pascal had a catch. And that's that for them as far as receptions go. So I don't know if you saw the way he was making his damage. I was watching Red Zone on the side, so I wasn't in tune to the game, but I was seeing all the big plays. Man, A.J. Brown was eating off the quick slant. He was eating off the big plays down the field. The crossing routes were definitely working for him. The mesh concepts were definitely working for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, this dude is a rejuvenated weapon. You know, last year he was a little bit banged up. He had right around 800 yards on a year with the Tennessee Titans. To come out week one like this and put up these big numbers, he's going to be a great weapon moving forward for the Philadelphia Eagles, man. I'm a little bit worried. I wasn't scared of Derrick Henry. I'm a little bit scared of A.J. Brown.
And this is the step we're trying to find here with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts gets A.J. Brown. Does that completion percentage begin to go up like Josh Allen when he got Stephon Diggs? That's what I'm looking for this year out of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
It makes me want to go back, and I'm going to do that when we get off air. I'm going to go back and look at Josh Allen's first game with Stephon Diggs. I don't think he was around that 50%. I actually think he lit it up. But I want to check that out to just see, was there a slow kind of slope of progression with Stephon Diggs, or was it immediate impact from day one? But Philadelphia Eagles, I think they probably look like the most impressive team right now in the NFC East. And, you know, moving forward, I think that the other two teams that won over the weekend are going to have a little bit of catching up to do. If I had to kind of rank us in a hierarchy right now, I think that the Washington Commanders look the second best out of the division right now, close, you know, with the New York Giants, but I'd put the Giants at third right now, and obviously the Dallas Cowboys at the bottom of the division. I'd have to put them at number 4. But all in all, really good game from Jalen Hurts. I think, you know, 333 yards is solid. And then just from that offense, they handle business. But you're right, Philadelphia Eagles defense, they're going to have to get it together. You know, too many yards given up in this game, you know, and you got a guy at quarterback, what's my guy's name?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff eating you up and allowing the Detroit Lions to score 35 points. Philadelphia scored 24 points in the second quarter. It was 24-14 at the half. You know, I know y'all kind of looking at this like y'all probably laughing, smiling, high-fiving on the sidelines, and then you look up and the Detroit Lions are down by 3, dog. So they're going to have to get it together. I'm a little bit worried as far as divisional matchups for both of our teams, man, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. But we'll see how things look moving forward. They're at the top of the NFC East right now, 1-0, tied with the Giants and tied with the Washington Commanders, man. We're going to see week 2. Do we got any divisional games week 2? I don't think we do.
We play the Lions.
Yeah, we got the Panthers. The Eagles, let me see if I can get their schedule up here. The Eagles are going to be taking upon the Vikings on Monday night. That's going to be a good one. That is going to be a really good one. And then the Cowboys are taking on the Bengals. Man, that's a tough matchup to have. And the Bengals just lost a heartbreaker where really all they had to do was just challenge the play and they would have won that game. Jamar Chase did catch the game-winning touchdown there on the 1-yard line, and you start screwing it up. Your kicker, snap, hold, kick, block, all this craziness going on in overtime. Yeah, they're going to want to really get a revenge game here, and the Cowboys are definitely going to be in trouble there without Dak Prescott at the helm. Shout out to the homie NA. We got time.
For the $4.99 super chat says, what up, fellas? Hope all is well. And Beard, y'all pulled through from a parlay. Big shout out to ENA. We got time. ENA, we got parlay every Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
ENA, we got parlay. I'm definitely digging that. All right, so we got one more game to take care of before we get up out of here. We're going to make this one nice and short and sweet for y'all. We got a couple of questions we wanted to ask the chat as well on this one. But let's talk about the Cowboys matchup against the Bucs one time. Cowboys took on the Bucs at home, man, and we thought that this was going to be a repeat performance of last year's opening day game. With the Cowboys and the Bucs, but this one looked a lot different, man. It was a high-scoring affair last year, and it came down to the wire where the Cowboys took the lead late in that game in the last 2 minutes, and the Bucs had to, you know, put the pressure on and get their offense in the end zone and end up scoring and taking the victory in last year's game. And this game, man, they took care of business here, man. 19-3, the Bucs took care of business. Felt like they were in control for the whole game, even before Dak Prescott ended up getting hurt. Dak Prescott leaves the game with a hand injury, and people saw him mouthing on the sidelines that he thought that he broke the thumb. And before he left the game, he was 14 of 29 for 134 yards. So you're looking at 50% from Dak Prescott. That's not a normal thing. Cooper Rush came in relief, and he was pretty much 50% on the day, too. He was 7 of 13 for 64 yards. Man, rushing-wise, Ezekiel Elliott had 52 yards in the first half, and I don't think they went back to the run. It's like they were just down the rest of that game. You got a grand total of 18 carries from the Dallas Cowboys. 2 of them came from Dak Prescott, so 16 carries from the running back position. Zeke Elliott averaged 5.2 yards per carry, and Tony Pollard had 6 carries for 8 yards. So pump the brakes on trying to get rid of Ezekiel Elliott over there with the Dallas Cowboys. And what I told the Beard off air is what I noticed is even when Dak was in the game, the normal stuff you see from the Cowboys, the crossing routes that they normally complete, the stuff to the tight end, you just saw a lot of incompletions. It was just like unfamiliar territory for the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, they were one of the most high-powered offenses in the league, and to see them regress like this, their leading wide receiver was who? You told me their leading wide receiver was some dude I'd never even heard of.
Noah Brown, 5 catches, 68 yards.
That ain't the vibes for the Dallas Cowboys. Dalton Schultz came up with 7 receptions on the day for 62 yards, and CeeDee Lamb was extremely quiet, man, with 2 receptions for 29 yards. How many targets you say they went to him at?
I think he had 11 targets.
2 catches on 11 targets is pitiful, man. And they really couldn't get no receiving out of their running game either. Tony Pollard only had 2 receptions for 17 yards on the day, man. It just seemed like the Cowboys never even really tested Tom Brady in this game, who Tom Brady didn't have that great of a game himself either. 18 of 27, 212 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And Leonard Fournette was really the workhorse in this game, man. Yeah, he ate in this game. You know, I know Zeke Elliott liked to do this thing, but it seemed like Leonard Fournette was probably grabbing the spoon here on this one. 21 carries for 127 yards. He averaged 6 yards per carry, and I love to see Julio Jones. He made a couple big plays in this game. 2 catches for 17 yards, but it was nice to see him make a couple catches out there. Cowboys, man, this is not the way you want to start off week 1 in a revenge game against the Bucs, man. 3rd down was pitiful for both teams, but extremely pitiful for the Cowboys. They were 3 of 15 on 3rd down and 2 of 5 on 4th down. They ran more plays than the Bucs, and they just got beaten this one, man. They got sacked 4 times on the day and only got to the quarterback twice. Both sacks were from Michael Parsons, I believe, for the Cowboys. So he's doing his part, but the rest of them need to catch up.
He is really good. He's really good. I want to say he had 2 sacks, 2 he had like 2s on every stat line. It was a crazy stat line. He's really, really good. Michael Parsons is really good.
He's the kind of player you want on your team, man. Yeah. He had 4 combined tackles, 2 solos. I mean, just a good game overall from him, but it just seems like he couldn't get really much help from anybody else, man. And the Bucs early got that lead, man, and once they got that lead, they really never looked back. It was 12-3 at the half, and then the Bucs come out in the 3rd quarter and scored a touchdown, and that's pretty much all she wrote for the Dallas Cowboys, man. Like, they just really couldn't get things clicking in any department. Last year, we know that they kind of abandoned the running game because they knew that the Bucs had the #1 rush defense last year, so they didn't want to come out and try to run the ball up the middle. I talked about Vita Vea when we were talking about the preview in this game, and you don't want to try to be running at Vita Vea. He's a big boy, man. That dude looks like a sumo wrestler.
Devin White.
Yeah, Devin White in the linebackers. I mean, they're stacked. That defense is pretty much complete. You know what I mean? They're doing a lot over there with the Bucs. And I know Tom Brady been having some beef with his wife, but it looks like Tom Brady trying to get out here on his field so he can make another Super Bowl run. And the Bucs seem like they're poised to do it in a game where Tom Brady was a little up and down.
Mike Evans might be. I think it's safe to say Mike Evans might be one of the most underappreciated stars in the NFL.
I was going to call him the best wide receiver of the decade.
Yeah, it's really like he just doesn't get enough talk, I think. His consistency is just insane. And the catches he makes, like he does all the little things right and then makes the big plays. And he's such a great target to have in the red zone. Such a great target to have in the red zone. And unfortunately, they lost Godwin again. I don't know.
Oh, he got banged up in this game.
Yeah, he got hurt. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but it could be a couple of weeks. And I think somebody in the chat, I don't know if you know or if Awthentik knows, because it's Awthentik. He knows a lot. Didn't Julio Jones get clocked at like the fastest player in NFL history or something weird? I saw something going around on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, they said something about that in this game. I did see that stat. I don't know the nugget off the top, but I do remember them saying that, which is kind of interesting. I mean, Julio Jones did look like he was back to his like normal, at least health. You know, he dealt with that hamstring injury the last year when he was with Atlanta. And then with the Titans, he was just banged up like the whole year. Never really saw too much productivity out of Julio Jones with the Titans. But we're going to have to see him step up here, man. Chris Godwin going out with an injury. You're definitely going to have to see him step up here moving forward for the Bucs, man. The Bucs, I want to say, who do they play next week? Let me see who they play next week. The Bucs are going to be taking on the Saints next week, and we know the Saints have their number. When you talk about trying to find a way to beat the Buccaneers, the Saints found a way last year, 2 times actually, to beat the Bucs, and they're one of the only teams that finds a way to run the ball against the Bucs too. I remember they went over 100 yards against them combined with their running backs. Alvin Kamara was the lead back. He had around 80 yards last season when they played him the last time. So a lot of teams, they try to abandon the run when they go against the Bucs, but the Saints just, stare at the face of death when they're going up against the Bucs, and they just run it right at Vita Vea. That's going to be an interesting game. That one's Sunday at 1 o'clock, so I'm looking forward to that. But before we get up off this game, I did want to bring a question to the chat, because I know we got a lot of NFC East fans in the building one time, and there's a lot of worry, in that Cowboys locker room, and I'm sure in that front office about what they're going to do. But the question here is going to be, with Dak Prescott out 6 to 8 weeks, and we know with Russell Wilson dealing with the hand injury last year, even when he came back after the 6 to 8 weeks that he was out, when he came back after he had the surgery on his thumb, you see him sailing some passes high. He just didn't look like himself. Some people said he still don't look like himself after the game last night against the Seattle Seahawks. But with Dak out for 6 to 8 weeks, I'm going to start with you on this one, Beard, and the chat. Y'all let me know. I'm going to keep my eye on the chat as well. Is the Cowboys season over? And before you give your take, we got to shout out William Ruffin one time in the building. It's a major super chat, man. We definitely appreciate that, dog.
Big shout outs to William Ruffin for the 36.99 Arab Emirates dirham. I
Get
hope I
him,
said
dog.
that
I
right.
don't even know how you did that off the cuff, bro. That's what's up.
I'm pretty sure it is Arab Emirates dirham. 36.99 of those. My show is back. Go Giants. Love week 1 overreactions. Beard, I need advice. My beard is trash. The NBA preseason is coming out here. If the NFL does the same, y'all need to make y'all way out here. Big shout out to William Ruffin. Listen, the best advice for the beard is patience, willpower, and determination.
That's it.
So that's it. Because listen, you're gonna go through these phases where it's patchy and doesn't look good and it's itchy and it's driving you crazy, especially out there. I'm sure it's hot as balls. You need to get yourself some ball balm from our sponsor Manscaped. It'll help you a little bit. And then, the beard might come along right after that. So big shout out to William Ruffin. Make sure y'all go show his channel some love. We appreciate you.
Hey, good looks, dog. We definitely appreciate that super chat, man. We really can't do it without the community, man, and support like that. Y'all know what it is. All these upgrades come from, supporters like that, man, showing us big love. So we definitely appreciate that, William, man. That's a good look. And what is it again? The AED stands for?
It is Arab Emirates dirham.
I like that. I was going to say ordinary dollar, so I don't even know where I was going to go with the AED, but that's what's up, man.
You know who else is in the chat?
Who's in the chat right now?
Bobby!
Bobby!
I haven't seen
Bobby in the building. What's up, fam?
Big shout out to Bobby. So, with Dak Prescott out 6 to 8 weeks, is the Cowboys season over? It was over whether Dak was healthy or not. Did you see his play on the field? He's playing like this since the end of last season. Honestly, we need someone to push for his job next year in camp. Wow.
And Kai's a Cowboys fan, right?
Yeah, Kai is a Cowboys fan. A big hot take from
That's a
Kai.
hot take right there.
Listen. I hate to say it, but I told you so. Okay? This is not to blame on Mike McCarthy. Is going to end up being the scapegoat for this, okay? Mike McCarthy is going to end up being the scapegoat for this, okay? But it's not his fault. This is all laying on the shoulders of the Dallas Cowboys front office and organization. They stumbled. The way they set everything up with the contracts from Zeke to Dak to Amari, the window was about a 1 to 2 year window to have all of them together. Yeah. Now, obviously, Amari Cooper's gone, and they relied on a bunch of people that haven't proven themselves, and it showed on the field. You have CeeDee Lamb, but listen, we've seen this time and time again in the National Football League. You got to have a Robin. You got to have some sort of Robin to the Batman, or else it's just not going to work.
You're right.
And unfortunately, Michael Gallup is recovering still from the knee injury. They let Cedric Wilson walk.
Which was crazy to me. He was a great special teams piece, and he was wide receiver depth from the slot position. He was a playmaker.
Yeah, so they fumbled this whole situation, and now it sucks because without the injury, you still had some sort of hope, I think. But, I said this in my predictions. I said the Dallas Cowboys, they were good enough to where they're going to fall this year. It may not be like a losing record. Now it might be. But, they have a lot of problems. Based upon the schedule, we're going to see how it's going to go for them. But I hate to be the guy to be jumping the gun and overreactions out the gate, but out 6 to 8 weeks with Dak Prescott and no wide. Listen, the only hope you might have is maybe all these second string wide receivers have some chemistry with Cooper Rush. But
I don't know.
That's the only hope you got. I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, the season is over.
That's wild. One game in, the season is over. I got my man The Beard, my partner, saying it's over. I got a Cowboys fan, Kai, in the chat telling me it's over. It was already over. Man, I think I got to agree with y'all, man. As much as I want to go against the grain on this take, 6 to 8 weeks here, I mean, let's say Dallas comes out of that at best case scenario, 3-5. Dak Prescott come back.
They didn't put him on IR, okay? So that leaves open a chance. Okay, we're going quotations.
Yep.
Chance for a quick return at 4 weeks. But I mean, I'm gonna take a quick look at their schedule really fast and see who it is that they have upcoming on their schedule, because that's gonna really determine how over their season is. Okay, they got the Bengals. I think we can go ahead. The Bengals are going to be playing angry. We can go ahead and chalk that up as an L.
I think it's going
and
to be
they got
L.
the Giants. That's a division matchup. If the Giants continue to play the way they're playing and they're running the ball like that, I mean, we just saw Leonard Fournette carve him up for 160 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, now we might see Saquon go for 200 on the ground against them.
It's
We're
not
going to
the
go ahead
preview
and
show,
chalk
but
that
I'm
up.
going L. I'm going L.
We're going L. Then they got the Commanders. We're going to chalk that up as an L. Then they got the Rams. L. Eagles.
L. Lions.
We'll see.
I don't know. The way the Lions played the Eagles, if they could play like that, that's going to be another L.
And they got the Bears. Well, I mean, the Bears just beat the Niners. Then they got the Packers and the Vikings. It's a wrap.
So you would hope that, let's just say he get back in let's say he get back in the 5th week, right?
Yeah.
So you got Bengals, Giants, Commanders, Rams, Eagles. You're looking at maybe 1 or 2 wins max, I think, with a backup quarterback right there. You already got 1 L. So you're looking at about a good 3 wins, 3-6, 3-7, 3-5, 3-4, something like that. And then you're going to have Dak Prescott go on a run when he comes back playing the Bears, Packers, Vikings, Giants again, Colts, Texans, Jaguars, Eagles, Titans, Commanders to end the year. So, I'll say this then. The season ain't over. It ain't over because you don't know what could happen in the NFC East. When we get back to that old school NFC East vibes and, an 8-win, 9-win team's going to win the division, I won't say that it's over for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, but it's looking real suspect right now.
Is it possible that the Cowboys start their season 0-8?
Yeah. You remember what I picked them last year to start?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I said 1-6, and I think they ended up starting like 2-5 or something like that. They struggled in the beginning of last year, but then they got it together, late in that game. Shout out to Ronald Armstrong one time in the chat, too. What's up, fam? Good to see you, my G.
Ron?
I know he's ecstatic about that Commanders win, man. All right, so we're going to close that one out, man. Cowboys, the coffin is closing, man. 3 more nails. It's a wrap for y'all. We're going to have to bury y'all. I'm going to keep it funky with you, man. That's just how it is. But, I like where all the other teams are standing in the NFC East right now, man. I think my Giants are sitting pretty with a Week 1 win. I know you're feeling good about the Commanders. Any final thoughts on Week 1, for your squad and for the other squads? Anything that we might not have covered, or any just final thoughts, how you feel about your team moving into Week 2?
I feel great, okay? And you know why I feel great? I feel like I prepared myself properly for the roller coaster.
Yeah, we both did, man. I agree with you on that.
So it's
like,
I
know I always talk about setting the bar higher. We set the bar a little lower for this one. We're not in control.
I feel like my team performed the way that I expected them to perform, up and down, but they fought, and I think Antonio Gibson stood out to me. Carson Wentz made the difference between quarterback play for the Washington Commanders right now is night and day, and I think it's going to carry on throughout the season. My one thing is fans, don't ride the lows and the highs too high and too low, okay? Don't rock the boat.
Call.
Ride the wave, okay? Don't rock
Bars.
the boat, ride the wave.
I like that.
That is my suggestion to the Washington Commanders fan base. And shout out to the NFL because, listen, if week 2 is anything like week 1, we are in for a treat. That is a fact. I just hope that we can see some consistency in the health department when it comes to the NFL and these players, because it is tough. No matter, even if it's somebody like your rival team and Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, you never want to see these guys go down with injuries. TJ Watt,
awful.
Elijah Mitchell, Najee Harris, Curtis Godwin, Chris Godwin. I always mix
you get
up.
those two mixed up.
all
That's
the
like
time.
me with Aaron Donald and Sam Darnold. I used to be like Aaron Darnold, Sam. Like, yeah, I got you. It's all
so
good, bro.
like as a fan of the game, you want to see these top tier players and all the players, especially when you see the rookies go down early in their career. It's hard to see. So I just want to see. I wish continued health for the players in the National Football League and the product to continue to be as good as it was in week 1. That's all you can really ask for as a fan, to see these guys go out there and put it all on the line for the team and for a victory. So I'm excited for this season. I think this first week definitely did not disappoint.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And shout out to Ronald one more time. He brought up a good point here. He said last-minute adjustments with Gibson getting the starting nod. When was the last time we came back and won in the second half? And that reminds me of the Giants, and that reminds me of the Commanders, man. Like, these second-half comebacks is very slim pickings. And to get that in week 1, that feels really good, man. I'm super hype about the season because of that. And, to know that your team didn't play to their potential and got the W, like, still wasn't ugly, but definitely still got a win, where there are a lot of places and a lot of departments to be able to improve in on both of these teams, man. We talked about Washington trying to improve on the defensive side of the ball, and I talked about the New York Giants in the wide receiver room. Definitely going to have to improve going into week 2. Hopefully we can get that ball rolling earlier, come out on that first drive, get a score, man, and keep that momentum from last game, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Next week, make sure y'all tune in. Actually, this week, next show. Make sure y'all tune in on Thursday, man. This is going to be a jam-packed preview. I just looked at the Thursday night game. We got the Chargers headed to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. That is going to be a quarterback matchup from heaven. Definitely can't wait to see that, man. We got some big games in the NFC East. Y'all know what it is, man, over here at Awthentik and The Beard. Let me see them biceps in the chat before we get up out of here one time. Left side.
Strong side.
Y'all know what it is, man. Keep raising that bar, man. Keep living those dreams, man. Don't be out here trying to build somebody else's empire. Find a way to build your empire, man. That's what it's all about. You don't want to look back with no regret. I know Jay-Z said gotta learn to live with regrets, but we getting too old for that, y'all. So go out there, man. Raise that bar. Keep living those dreams, man. We appreciate each and every one of y'all that stuck around for this 2-hour vibe on a Tuesday, man. Make sure to go check that other reaction, the instant reaction we did to the Commanders win from Sunday, man. We got the Giant overreaction from Monday if y'all missed that. We got the stat predictions if y'all need that. We got the content popping for y'all, man. We're going to try to keep it on the highest level. Y'all know what it is, man. Awthentik and The Beard. One more time. Left side.
Strong side.
And I know the Commanders trying to get a win next week, but y'all know what it is one time.
Spike don't care.
It's all about the New York Giants one time over here on the left side. We appreciate y'all, man. Keep being good. Keep living those dreams. Keep raising that bar, man. We'll see y'all on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, man. Be easy.
Peace.
Peace.